Hi guys, so I'm back today with a little video, and this is the tutorial on how to make the little Matchbox dresser. So let's go ahead and get started. And I've got some pieces marked out so I can give you guys the measurements. So this is going to be the 6th drawer, and let's see. Okay, so the first one is the drawer piece, and you are going to need to cut 4 by 7/8 by 6, and we're going to score 1 inch on each side. Then you need to cut and miter the corners, and so you need 6 of these. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut them all in front of you so you can do it with me, but I want to give you all the measurements up front. So 4 and 7/8 by 6, score at 1 inch on all sides. There's little sleeves to each of these, and you're going to cut these at 8 5/8 by 4 1/4, and we're going to score at 1 inch, 4 inch, 5 inches, and 6 inches. So score at 8 5/8 by 1 4/8, and score at 1, 4, 5, and 8 inches. And you need 6 of these. The next one, is going to be the side of the boxes, and this one you're going to cut at 4 by 4 1/4, and you'll need 2 of those. So 4 by 4 1/4 by 2. This one is the top and the back piece, so you're going to need to cut 4 1/4 by 6. I'm sorry, you cut 2. So 4 1/4 by 6. And now the first time I made this, I used these feet, and because of these feet, when I did it, the Tim Holtz feet, the traditional ones, this little piece, when it was sitting in there, the bottom drawers wouldn't open. So what I had to do was I had to add an extra little piece. So this is kind of like a extra little platform for it to stand on. And this one you're going to cut, just one of them, and you're going to cut at 10 by 5, or 10 5/8. So 8 by 10 5/8. On the 8-inch side, which is this side, you're going to score at 1 7. So you're going to score at 1 7, because this is going to be 1 inch tall. And then on the 10-inch side, so this side, you're going to score at 1, 4 7/8, 5 7/8, and 9 7/8. Okay, and there's a couple pieces that you can cut out that you don't have to have overlapping, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So you're going to cut 8 by 10 5/8, and on the 8-inch side you're going to score at 1 7, and on the 10-inch side you're going to score at 1, 4, 5 7/8, and 9 7/8. And so I'll just kind of hold it here, so if you guys want to stop it and write those down. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is this. Okay, I'm going to actually cut this piece first, because this piece is just perfect for it, almost. Okay, so we're going to cut it at, oops, it's 8 1/2. Yeah. So we'll cut this at 6. And I'm using 110-pound cardstock. And then this is 4 1/4. So I have my 2 pieces. So I've got that done. Now let's cut the base. Now on all of these, you can just use a, for the matting, because I'm sure you're going to want to put pattern paper on it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a 1/4 inch off on each side. That's just kind of what I do. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this up, because we're going to cut this at 8. By 10 and 5/8. And we need to score. I'm going to use my Martha Stewart scoreboard. On the 10-inch side, not that one, I have a couple of different stylus, and with the 110-pound paper, I don't want to crack it when I score. So we're going to score at 1, 4, oh, oops, not 4. 1, 4 and 7/8, which is right here. Okay. And on the Martha Stewart scoreboard, it's the last blue notch before the 5. Okay. 5 and 7/8, which is the last blue notch before the 6. And 9 and 7/8, which again is the last blue notch. Oh, geez, just got all crazy on that one. The last blue notch before the, the 10. I was scoring the wrong one. Now, one thing I've noticed, if I score the wrong one, sometimes I can come back in, flip it over, and very lightly push down the score line. I don't want to push into it. I'm just using my Teflon bone folder. Now, it won't get rid of it completely, but it'll be better. Now, some people would want to start over. I am not going to be that fussy because it's not going to show once I get the pattern paper on there. Okay, now we're going to turn to the 8-inch side, and on the 8-inch side we're going to score at 1 and 7, but I like to just flip it all the way around and score at 1 again. Because it's 1 inch on each side, and then we have the 2 center score lines. Okay, now I am going to go ahead and cut out what we need to cut out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away this tab right here. So you can have it closest to you or farthest away. I'm going to do closest to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this square out. And I'm going to mirror it on this side, and I just did it wrong. Shoot. Okay. Yeah. There is a specific side to that. Okay. Let's oh Lord. This is why why I need to pay more attention. Okay, I need to quickly redo this. And now that I've made a mistake, now I'm all flustered. And there's no coming back from cutting off the piece incorrectly, so I just have to redo it. So I'm so sorry, guys. Bear with me. If I have time in the editing process, I will go ahead and edit that out. It won't take too terribly long. But I can't keep that score line in my own lane. And wavered a little bit too. Apparently not. Oh jeez. Let's go ahead and keep it in our own lane. I don't know why. Oh, it's probably because I'm trying to do a tutorial. I guarantee it. Okay. Alright, now we have our piece all the way. It may be hard to see the score line, but you have a 1-inch score line, and this is less than 1 inch, but I don't remember the measurement. I think it might be 3/4 of an inch. So we need to be on the 3/4 of an inch side. So I'm going to put the 3/4 of an inch side closest to me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off these tabs, because it just adds more bulk than we need. So I'm cutting off those tabs, and now I need to also cut the other tabs. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut on these score lines on the 8-inch, like if you're holding it like this, it's the 8-inch side. So we want to cut the tabs like this and like this. Now, when you're cutting and mitering the corners, because otherwise it gets a little bulky, you want to cut into the tab itself, not to the side of the box. So I'm going to cut into the smaller piece. Okay. And I'm just cutting a triangle out. I'm not being specific on how much I'm cutting out. It's, you know, obviously you can see they're not equal. Some people like to make sure that they're really equal. Kind of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of gal, so just kind of do those. Okay, now cut into those. And those. And my phone is just going crazy. Okay, so we've got that done. Now, let's go ahead and cut the 2 side pieces. So we'll cut this at 4 1/4 by 4 and 4. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to go ahead and just mute my phone. Sorry I didn't do that before. Okay, so we have our 2 pieces that go on the side. That was super easy. Now for the longer part are going to be the drawers. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to use... And what some of those, what I'm going to do is I'm going to and actually that won't work. I think I may have cut that wrong because they need to be 8 5/8, and this is only 8 1/2. So this, cut that wrong. Come back to that. Okay, we're going to cut this at 8 5/8. Okay. And by 4 1/8 and 4 and 1/8. So you can get 2 out of an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. So we'll go ahead. 5/8 and 4 and 1/8 and 4 and 1/8 and one more because we have to do 6 drawers. 8 and 5/8 by 4 and 1/4, or 4 and 1/8 by 4 and 1/8. Okay, so those pieces, the drawer pieces, or the wraps, are almost done. Let's go ahead and score them, because we're just going to do everything all together. Okay, so we need to score at 1, 4, 5, and 8. And there's no cutting on these, so 1, 4, 5. Why is that? I'm not. This just does not want to score right there. That's what I was looking at on my scoreboard. I was like, is there something in the track? Okay. 1. Oh, jeez. 4, 5, and 8. These are gonna like be ingrained into my head pretty soon. 1, 4, 5, and 8. I know in a tutorial I could speed this up, but I think repetition is good. So 1, 4, 5, and 8. Lord, I need to work on my scoring, guys. These are okay because none of these are going to be showing, so if I mess them up a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Okay, 1, 4, 5, and 8. Okay, so those are the little sleeves. Now for the drawers. So we need to cut 6 of them. Okay. So we're going to cut at 6. And then 4 and 7/8 is that little mark, not the little one, but the larger one right before the 5. Actually, wait a second. So this should be by 5, so we'll cut not that much off. Oh shoot. Okay, let's see if I Let's see if I messed up that cut. I think I did already. I did. So you can get 3 out of each if you cut it correctly. Okay. So there's 2. And oh my gosh. Sorry guys. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So 6. Hold on just a second. 6 by 4 5/8. Oh, Lord. 6. Okay. There's 4. All right, let me see. So this by 6. 4 5/8. So I should be cutting it by 4 5/8 this way by 6. Okay. All right. So now that I've butchered a bunch of my cardstock, let's go ahead and keep going. All right. Now, this one we score 1 inch on, excuse me, on all sides. So I'm just turning. So once these trees, these are all scored, almost done. Okay, all right, now all of that is done. Okay, let's go ahead and cut. Okay, so remember, like I said, we want to cut into the tabs. So we want to miter those tabs, not the sides of the boxes. Okay, so we want to cut all 6 of them just like that. I know, super exciting, right? And then of course, you know, we're going to have to fold and score everything, or crease everything. But what I like to do is I like to get my pattern paper and adhere it in the drawers first while it's flat to certain parts of it, just because it makes it easier, you know, if depending on the type of adhesive that you're using, so you can press it down a little bit easier. It's just really kind of personal preference. I always like to put the paper on the front of the drawer first so that when I do that, I can press it down really well. And that reminds me, I need to find my drawer pulls. Two more, almost done. It is such a rainy day here in the Pacific Northwest. The hubby got called into work, so I'm going to do this. My sister is in town visiting. She was able to extend her trip. She was supposed to go home last Sunday, but now she's going home this Sunday. She actually lives in Oklahoma now. One of my sisters lives in Oklahoma now with her husband. He's in the Army. And as she was about to take off on Wednesday, her plane got a flat tire, and so they canceled that flight, and she was supposed to fly out the next day, and then she was able to extend it. So I'm very excited to go see her in a little bit. Okay, all right, so there are the pieces for that. So I'm going to stop this video because I don't want them to get too long, and when I come back, I'm going to show you guys the matting and the assembly. So I'll be back in a minute.